On today's podcast, episode 45 of Kickoff Sessions, joined with Rob Lipsett, which is going to be a good milestone for the podcast, I must say. Been recording for like 6, 7, 8 months now and finding my feet, a lot, like kind of like yourself, early days YouTube kind of vibe and that kind of gritty podcasting. So yeah, I'd like to say you're very welcome to the podcast and I'm excited for the episode.
Thanks so much for having me on. I love to see it. I love to see the come up, just what you said, like starting out, you're in for an epic journey.
Yeah, that's the whole idea, man. And like, whether it's YouTube, whether it's like Instagram, whether it's a side business, the early days are just scrappy, and that's really where I want to start. I don't think we need much like background. I like to get like straight into the detail. And I'm doing a lot of research for this and thinking about a lot in different details. And I remember early days YouTube of your account. And I thought, like, looking back in hindsight, I remember seeing you with like a fucking whiteboard, man, like mapping out the macros. I remember me being like, what the fuck? So like a carb and a fat at the time, because I was only like 18, 19 at the time, and I think that was pretty cool how you were like almost like a first mover in the market. Really, you really had like that, not necessarily an edge, but it was almost like you were the first person I knew from an Irish context, so
Yeah.
what do you think for yourself kicking off, starting was really the biggest driver in your early day success, or was there even success in the very beginning? What would be your thoughts on something like that?
Yeah. So first of all, there was no success in the beginning, but the early driver was, I would, first of all, I'm always been obsessed with fitness, started with rugby and I actually preferred the training and conditioning part of it more than the actual sport. So that's how I fell, just completely in love with everything, strength conditioning, fitness, bodybuilding. And I'd watch so much guys from America, especially like, Kristen Guzman, Max Tuning, the Hodge twins, Scott Herman, Matt August, like name a few OGs. And I'd say there's not one person in Ireland doing this. Like there's not one person in Ireland putting out fitness content at scale online. As in, it's so crazy. It's like, I was like, how is there no one in an entire country doing this? Where it's such a big industry in America. So I was like, screw it. I'm going to be the first to do it. I see a gap in the market here. So I'm going to just pick up my iPhone and I'm going to sellotape it to the wall. Yeah, because I didn't have a tripod or a camera. And I'm just going to start making fitness videos because, I was a qualified personal trainer. I had good knowledge. I was kind of like, even at a young age, I was always learning and reading articles. And like I was reading, some people would read like bodybuilding magazines. I was like, this is such bro science. I'd be reading the actual studies. So I'd see so many people putting out this crap information. And I'm like, I'm here to clear up some myths and help people actually get results and show people actually the way to get in shape and how to get long-term results. Mm-hmm. So again, I picked up the iPhone. I executed. So many people are waiting for the perfect intro or to get the best camera or, to just find the good lighting. I do love some good lighting though, but, and they just don't do it and they don't execute on it. So I was like, I'm going to be the first Irish fitness YouTuber. And that did give me an edge because I was like, oh yeah, I win by default because no one else showed up to the race.
100%,
seriously, it's not that I'm so great. It's just because no one else bothered,
What was sick there is that you didn't wait for things to be ironed out for you, as in a lot of people would have been like, oh, I'm waiting for the perfect moment or to be more specialized. Like that's often a common myth. And even I had a conversation with my close mate recently saying he's not ready to start posting things online. This isn't fitness related. This is just in general. He's like, I'm not ready at that point. Whereas like, I'm not at that ready. I'm not an expert in podcasting, man. I'm not an expert at fucking anything, but I'm willing to put myself out there for ridicule, for admiration, for criticism. But at that point, you with your iPhone without a tripod was, intrinsically getting better and working towards that expert level.
Yeah, and you win because you just execute. Like, you ever seen that video and it's like a horde of buffalo running by and there's like a lion and he's sat on the side of the road and he's waiting to pounce on the buffalo. And he's waiting. And then another lion just comes along and just boom, straight in there, tackles down the buffalo. And, he gets surprised because he just went for it, okay? And that's a good metaphor for life, is that everyone's always waiting for this perfect moment. You know what happens? Don't do it. Don't even bother. Don't execute. People will come up to every excuse just to not start, because starting something new is a scary thing. So we don't want to do it. But you need to tackle fear head on and do things that scare you and do them regularly. And that's how you're gonna live a fun life. So that's how you're gonna be successful in your field. So that's what I did. I saw a lot of other people in like America mainly, but even in the UK and stuff. They're putting out fitness content. They're helping people get fit. They're getting their message across. So I said, I'm going to do that. And of course, so many Irish people are like, who the fuck does this chap think he is doing his fucking bicep curls on the internet? Do you think you're class, do you, buddy? And I'm like, yeah, I do think I'm fucking class. I'm like, why don't you like and subscribe while you're here, buddy? So yeah. That's how I started off. Of course, you get a bit sick doing it, but I don't care. I love fitness. I love talking about it, and I love helping as many people get fit as possible. That's always my core. That's my core mission. And you need to have that clarity. So that's the same mission as it is now as was 6-7 years ago. So that's how I started, and that was the drive at the beginning.
That's so interesting, man. Because like a big thing as well is, when all those kind of things are going against you, you need some sort of like luck on your hand, a combination of it. Now, I know you're not like a big LinkedIn guy. That's actually one of the main like platforms I use to like share like podcasts and stuff. But I saw something last week that I thought was quite interesting. It was like this guy, like Jonathan Tester's his name. I'm recording actually next couple of weeks with him. He was saying that, he's a huge account, kind of like similar kind of size to yourself, just for LinkedIn. And he was like, was it hard work and determination, all these different things that got me there? He's like, there's a huge, huge element of this. But he's like, a big part of it was like luck and things just going my way, So when you were in like the shit fucking stir back then, and like, it was kind of like, that hockey stick growth, what were the indications of this was going to work out for me? Or at what point did it turn into, okay, I'm actually finding my feet? Because like from my own personal perspective, I hit like 10 podcasts and I was like still a nobody. Hit like 20 and I was like, all right, people think I'm not going to leave like tomorrow. Then I'm slowly getting there. But ultimately, like I'm not like actually at that point. I don't feel at that point, which is probably a good or a bad thing. So what for yourself gave you that kind of indication that, okay, maybe if I stick with this, it's going to work out?
Well, first of all, that there's really no other option, because I was a college dropout. I was working I've been fired from just so many jobs. Like I just can't. I did a personality test, and it's like I can't be like an employee. Like I can't take orders. Like I'll just show no enthusiasm to it. So I got fired from countless jobs. At the time, I was doing a 9-to-5 that I hated, which I ended up. Well, I quit. But like my boss was always like finding me doing people's training plans like on my computer when I was meant to be working. So it was only a matter of time, really. And so I was like, I have no other option. Like I'm really not going to do anything else. And like even sometimes now when like I feel like quitting or anything, or you get discouraged, I'm like, Rob, what the fuck else are you going to do? Like, seriously. Like, do you think you're just going to go in and like start handing out CVs? Like, seriously, no. So there was really just no other option of what I was going to do. But then, of course, I was always, again, promoting my online fitness business. I was coaching people online. I was writing ebooks and guides, and I was selling them for like a tenner or something on my little WordPress website. And when my videos, they started getting like a couple thousand views, and my coaching was going well, my clients were getting really good results, and my ebooks were selling well and good feedback on them. And it was the month that, sorry, it was 2 months in a row, my fitness side business that I was working on my laptop at work was making more than my office job. So when you get that, then it's safe to leave. Like when your side gig is making more than your main gig, well, then it's cool to go. So I walked in my boss's office. I was like 22 at the time, 23. And I was like, look, I'm passionate about fitness. I want to give this a shot. I want to like go 100% into, getting in the online fitness world. So look, I'm going to quit. And he was really cool about it. He was like, completely understand. I always see you working on your plans. Go after it. So that was really cool. And it was funny that week. Like I went from like, having a full-on job to like just going into fitness YouTube 100% of the time. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this is make or break. I was like, I've got all this time in my hands. Like, I'm like, I better do well now. So it was good pressure. And then it kind of went from there. And once you start putting 100% into things, then, it'll blossom well. But, hey, it could have flopped, but so there's always a bit of luck and timing into it, like you said. But that's when I knew that, you know, it was safe to leave anyways, was when my side hustle was making more than the main gig.
That inflection point is so like interesting to like analyze just in general, because like I actually have a mate who did something similar. He was like a master's in sports science, like a really educated guy, but he was at that brink whereby he only had like 20-30 hours of his personal time, and he was like, okay, at this entry point I only make this amount of money, whereas if I was to drop the job, possibly I could increase it. But it's very difficult to be able to figure this shit out like on the fly and make these actual like assumptions, you know? So
Yeah.
like, I think that's like a big thing for like anyone. And that's where maybe they don't go through, like, cause like, sorry, to that point, like you were forced to go balls deep and literally like to stand there with like everything committed, you know, and you had everything thrown out in front of you. That's possibly why it became successful. And also the fact I think the way I was just thinking about this recently was like, you figured it out though, like as in over the last couple of years, like from like the early days of that Facebook group page and like YouTube, you had figured out something that other people hadn't figured out. And I think that's what's really cool, because like people that would criticize you haven't a fucking clue, number one, but they also are not like on the path to figuring it out. But you would see that like, okay, this was the growth, like because you know, it is a trend, like anything is like a trend, which we'll kind of get to later on. But I think that's kind of cool, because like you were saying, oh, it could have flopped, but I think more so you figured it out and you were able to just nail it from there.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it's like being an early investor in something. Like imagine, you know, buying Bitcoin 10 years ago, as you know,
exactly.
I just knew that like fitness was going to be moving online. And like everyone in Ireland was just like, oh no, you have to train people in person. Even my mother was like, she was like, you're quitting your job. What are you gonna do for money? I was like, oh, I'm doing online coaching. She's like, what are you doing jumping jacks through Skype? Like, what are you talking about, Robert? Like, mom's from Mayo. Like, she's like, Jesus Christ, Robert, Holy Mary, Mother of God. And so I like, he was just an early investor, and I knew it was just going to be, fitness was going to move online. And it was almost like I saw a pandemic coming, because now fitness is completely online. Gyms were closed for the last 2 years pretty much. And so it's great. Like I sold more books and more app downloads, and more people were watching home workouts on YouTube. So I had a great 2 years. You know? So it's like, I just saw years ago that the fitness is going online, and I think it probably will continue to do so, really, for a lot of things. Obviously, you know, gyms will always be there. I'll always train the gym personally. But there's a lot of people now who, after the last 2 years or so, are going to keep up with the home workouts and working out outside.
100%. They've invested in gyms, they've built out these different things. But it's not even fact you like identified like fitness. It was more like the kind of digital era of like people just becoming more like, I don't know, connected to their MacBook and wanting these online services. Because even if I wanted a PT, I actually don't want to meet up with them. I prefer to just send you progress photos and then just get on with it, you know, because I'm too busy or just doing other like life commitments, you know, which is pretty cool. I kind of see this, oddly enough, with podcasting, and there's always two sides of the coin. Like, so people will always say like podcasting is saturated. Like there's like so many, everyone has a podcast these days. However, like I won't get into it now, but if you go really deep into statistics, like there's so much things coming around the corner. Spotify are coming out with their own version of Clubhouse. So I don't know, like this could be like that evolutionary period, but I think, I don't know, it's up in the air.
Yeah, I hate when people say the saturated thing. I think that's the biggest cop out ever. I'm just like, just say you're a pussy and go. You know, like literally, just say you're lazy and don't want to do it and go. Like people that say, oh, it's saturated. I'm like, yeah, guess what? So is like being a doctor and an accountant. Like literally, like so is anything, you idiot. Like anything worth doing is saturated. Oh my God, like it's so stupid. It's like, that's like saying, oh, you shouldn't start a clothing brand because a t-shirt already exists. Like everything is saturated. Every single industry is saturated. It's good. Competition's good. It makes you better. You just got to put your own spin on it and innovate a little bit. Yeah, but yeah, you know, and another one, it's like, oh, podcasting saturated. Everyone has a podcast. Great. That means everyone's more interested in podcasts.
Yeah, 100%. Man.
There you go.
100%.
So it's all just how you spin it. So, oh God, I cringe when I hear people say, it's saturated. It's such a crybaby. It's such a crybaby answer, yeah.
It's always a perspective, man. Like on actually that area of just like trends, different ideas. So what I also like noticed about yourself was that you were always like adapting with the times. So if it was like the whiteboard and then I went to like vlogging, and then like vlogging didn't like run its course, but it just kind of changed into like new things. And then people were in COVID, so then it was like, okay, COVID, we need to adjust to like workouts or whatever online.
Yeah.
But then it just kind of changed again, and I kind of noticed that like you were always like kind of like had one eye like looking ahead, and you always kind of something go around the corner. And I was kind of thinking like, you know, from a creativity perspective, what's kind of kept your interest in looking at something like that? Because it seems to me that you were never really like happy, or like not happy, sorry, that's the wrong word. You were never really satisfied with where you were currently at for certain particular things. So like, let's say for instance, instead of like going balls deep, banging out these like push pull leg programs like 24/7, you were thinking like around the corner, being like, oh, what else could I do to essentially diversify my different interests? And I think that's been a very big differentiator for you compared to maybe like other YouTubers or other guys, because they have different interests. You know, everyone has different interests. But for you, you know, what has been really the kind of spark to keep your eyes very creative and always looking for new opportunities?
Yeah, I just think, so this is kind of like a good and bad thing about my personality is like, yeah, you're right. I'm never happy and content with what I'm doing. And I'm always like, I beat myself up a lot over it because I'm like, oh, I'm not doing enough. You know, I need to do more. I'm like, oh, geez, I need to start a pancake company. You know, I'm like, let's go. Yeah. Then I'm like, oh, I need a new app. I need a rebrand called Game Plan. You know, so I'm always like that, which again, it could be a good and bad thing. I will never become a Buddhist because I'm never just living in the moment. I'm, as much as I try to, I'm just always like trying to do more and more. And again, diversify. And you want to build something bigger than you, which is why I changed my app from Lipsett Fitness to Game Plan, so that people who don't know who I am are downloading it. That's why I didn't call the fuel cakes Rob Lipsett's pancakes, you know, Lipsett cakes, you know, because I want to build something that people go into Tesco and grab, and, you know, they don't even know who I am. And one thing I really like is when I'm logged in the Fuel Cakes Instagram and I see people like tagging, you know, they post a picture of it online, they tag it and they tag Fuel Cakes and don't tag me. I like that because I'm like, they just like found out from the brand from like, you know, their friend, or they got in a supplement shop or something. So yeah, you know, I'm always trying to create something bigger than me, and I'm always trying to do a little bit more. So yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, you're kind of right in the sense that I'm never content. Yeah.
Man, that's cool, because like that's like the scalability factor, you know, like when you take it away from like your own name. Actually, well, obviously your name's like super fucking scalable to begin with, but like when it becomes like a brand that's evergreen, like it's evergreen content or evergreen brand that will just like sit in the shelf in Tesco, you know, so that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. So that's my current mission right now. That's been like my main focus in the last year is, you know, building up Fuel Cakes and Game Plan, which they're going amazing. And I'm learning loads with being in a new industry as well. So yeah, no, it's been an awesome year.
Yeah, man, it's pretty cool. Like, so like even on that area, like, so, you know, you're always a beaming guy, always like up to like different shit, and happiness and careers is two things that are like almost like never in like parallel, or they never really run in like synchronous. You know, how do you think about happiness in terms of like different types of careers, whether it's traditional or side projects? Like, do you get the same enjoyment you think right now from your Game Plan and Fuel Cakes as you did from online PT, for example? I won't compare it to like working in like a 9 to 5, because like they're obviously just completely different in this instance.
Yeah.
But, you know, can you like relate back to even other people that are in traditional 9 to 5s and their link towards happiness? Because for myself, like my last job, like I was fucking miserable, man. Like, as in, you know, I graduated with a, you know, pretty high degree, worked in a really good company, was getting good salary, but it was shit, and I just hated it. You know, there's no two ways about it. You can't sugarcoat it. Whereas now, I'm in an awesome company, awesome people, super engaged, super happy, and I really enjoy it. So it's interesting to see that dynamic. So what's your thoughts on that kind of symbiotic relationship?
Yeah, well, look, you've always got to do something that fulfills you. I saw a really interesting video recently, and it was like, it breaks down the hours you have in your life. And it's like, you know, you 8 hours sleeping on average, you spend an hour or two eating a day. And then it divides the time that you see your family and friends and leisurely activities, and then the amount of time that you go to work. And it ends up showing that after you've done all the basic human needs, that you spend most of your time working. Like that's what humans do. So they're like, what you do for work is the most important thing in the world. Like that's going to define how happy you are. It's going to define your sense of fulfillment. So you need to do some fulfilling work, or you're going to have a pretty miserable life, and you're going to wake up and you're 85, 90 years old if you're lucky, and you won't get that time back. And so that's what I say to people. I'm like, I should be a goddamn guidance counselor, and like, so you're not even told. Yeah, exactly. Life coach. I wasn't even told this in school, that, no one ever told me that what I just said there, the amount of hours you work is going to be probably take up the majority of your life. So yeah, you need to do something that you find fulfilling, or you're going to quit and you're not going to be fantastic at it. You're not going to excel in your field, because you're going to struggle showing up for work every single day. And then when you compare someone in your field who loves what they do, there's just they've got the competitive edge. So doing what you love to do and finding fulfilling work is one of the most important things in your entire life.
How do you, probably a different question, but how do you find that alignment between interests and like your career? So like even my own instance, I like took a step back, had pretty much like a fucking quarter life crisis, and I was like, what am I actually going to do? Like, what am I good at?
Yeah.
And what do I like? So I'm good at talking shit, and that's same with you, to be honest.
Yeah, of course. The Irish are pros at that.
Literally, I'm good at talking shit. I'm good at like managing kind of relationships and stuff, but then I'm also interested in like finance. I'm interested in like startups, and I'm interested in like technology, and then trying to find that kind of relationship. And then I ended up kind of like in Revolut, where I am right now. But for yourself, what would you advise for young people coming out? Because when you come out of college, man, like you're scavenging for roles, you're just trying to get anything, and trying to find that align your interests and your passions is quite difficult.
Yeah. So I always think outside the box, and let me tell you this, right? Okay. You can make a career out of anything. I'm fucking care what you say, right? There's kids on YouTube making millions of dollars per year opening up and reviewing toys on YouTube. You can make a job out of anything. Have you ever looked up Gloop? Like there's literally there's these YouTube channels that play with like Play-Doh online. They're getting millions of views, and they're literally like just playing with dough. Like you can make a job out of anything. Do you want to know what I do? I literally go to the gym for a living. Okay. I literally do bicep curls and record that and put it on YouTube and get paid hundreds of thousands for it. Okay. Like literally. So when people say, oh, I love doing this, but I can't make a job out of that, I say you can make a job out of anything. The world is you're living in the craziest era of your life. Like it's just so insane. So you can, people say, oh, I'm interested in this, passionate about this. Well, good. You can make a career out of it. You really can if you really want to. So like you're in this age that we're in, when we have smartphones in our pocket that are, I think they're like more powerful than the first computer that launched a rocket into space or some shit. It's just crazy. So the possibilities are just endless. So I think if you think outside the box, you can honestly make a career out of anything.
And if you can just stick with it, man, like that's the biggest fucking thing,
Yeah.
And that's like where I love to go next, man, is because like, it's so easy to start something. And I think that's what was kind of cool about yourself, was that for you, it was more like, oh, I have to like fucking do this, otherwise I can't like eat afterwards.
Yeah.
But a big thing, people start projects in, and there's kind of like this this cycle. It's like you start off, you launch it, and then you get all like the thanks from people. You get the excitement from people, and then people kind of buy into your idea, but then that dips, and then it becomes a grind. Sorry to say that, Mike, but it becomes like a grind from there, and I think that's where people often give up. So they kind of give up, you obviously see those kind of images where like the roads are bumpy, and then they give up at the point where they're going to break through. How do you think people should find things that are more longer term, because like, for instance, like podcasting is pretty sustainable. Like I work a fucking day job, but like I upload every week. Every Wednesday you're going to see a new podcast. We'll figure it out. We'll find the guest. We'll put it together and we'll upload it. And it's sustainable, and it's a process, and it's fine. But people will often bite off more they can chew, and that's just natural tendencies, So
yeah.
How do you think people can kind of find like things that are more longer term that they can really do for the rest of their life, or for the next couple of years? A lot of the rest of their life is unrealistic. So let's say a couple of years.
Yeah. So I think people just need to be a bit more relentless and a bit more resilient in what they do, and at the point, you got to condition your brain to say at the point when you do feel like giving up, that's exactly when you need to dig in and keep going a little bit. And it's like, what, you know, if you're struggling for money or something, then, you know, do another side gig or do something. But once you have that clear mission in your head, what you love to do and what you want to do, what you want to work as, what do you find fulfilling, then you need to have that clarity in your head and that tunnel vision on. They said, no matter what, I'm going to make this work. I don't care if I have to, you know, do something on the side. I don't care if I have to start an OnlyFans. I don't care if I do anything, right? I'm going to get there no matter what. So people need to employ a bit of resilience and be relentless in what they do.
Yeah, 100%, man. Actually, on social media in general, like, so, and on OnlyFans as well. So, like, you know, things like adjust, like in real life, as in like what's not just a bad word. So things always evolve. So like what's been relevant a couple of years ago when you started off, like your Facebook account, is obviously not relevant anymore. Like if someone,
of course,
it's just, they just run with the times. And things like OnlyFans where like people just came on the scene and just like got this fucking crazy growth.
Mad.
And like, bear in mind, like people posting their like earnings on Twitter and they're making like 200K a month. Now again, what happens behind the scenes, I say, is fucking a lot different than what you see on Twitter. But things are evolving and things are like changing. So, you know, for you, like when you're looking at like even like things like YouTube and Instagram, how have you think it's changed recently in terms of younger people, or not younger people, people that are trying to launch products now or launch different, improve their sites? So for instance, Game Plan or Fuel Cakes, how have you adjusted to these changes, or if there is changes in like algos and small things like that?
Yeah, no, I get you. So you always just got to keep an ear close to the ground and just be rolling with the times, you know, and don't get emotional with it and don't get attached. Facebook was the first profile that I had and was the first media or the first platform that I was using. When Facebook, like when you have to pay for your reach, I do Facebook ads nowadays, I hire someone to do them for me. But when Facebook lost its organicness and it was all about Instagram and YouTube, did I have a cry that, you know, my Facebook page isn't growing anymore? No, I was like, oh, sick. Instagram's hot now. I'm just going to jump on that. Awesome. Boom. Keep rolling. Right. TikTok is the newest one that's blown up now. OnlyFans, like you said, there's $1 billion company now. There's valued at $1 billion. That's like just blown up in the last 2 years. LinkedIn had a resurgence. You know, I'm not really on it. Don't use it, but I understand that it's really powerful. So you just keep an eye out and roll with it. And that if one platform of yours isn't doing well anymore, don't have a cry about it. And don't get attached to like these numbers and likes and you know, don't attach your self-worth to that. So yeah, just keep an eye out. Like I'm sure there's going to be in the next 5 years, there's going to be a new social media that's going to, you know, replace Instagram or YouTube. Maybe 10 years for YouTube. Like YouTube is just so strong. It's like Google in a sense. But yeah, you just got to keep an eye out and always be rolling with it and don't get emotionally attached to like certain platforms.
So true, man. It's like people just love like attachments of ideas or platforms or things like this, and they just fucking cling to it. Funny enough, you said about go ahead.
Yeah, and another one is like, so, you know, right now we view OnlyFans as like pretty much a porn site, you know? I bet you in a couple of years, it's going to just be the norm to have an OnlyFans, and you post like, they'll call it like something like OF, you know, just abbreviated. And it's going to be like, it's just like having a Facebook now, you know, it's, 100%. I bet you know, because like it's becoming more and more normal, you know, it's crazy. So you just got to always be adapting with it.
100%, man. Because if you think of like, you know, Patreon, which like Jordan Peterson was like the pioneer for that. He was like, hey, you know, if you like my work, send me like 10 quid. And then everyone's like, what? And then it just took off. But it's funny because
that's just like a classy OnlyFans.
Yeah, literally. But it's funny because my girlfriend, like she works in like animal conservation, like completely different than me, like as in like all like conservation essentially of like endangered species. And there's one guy that she follows who's like the most famous conservationist. Bear in mind, the guy now has like brought in these like huge laws around like stopping like I don't know, like shark fin soup and all this shit, right? Really famous guy, really famous guy. All of a sudden, he just started OnlyFans, and he was like, "Hey, pay me through this from now on." And bear in mind, the guy just completely took a 360 or 180, and now he's getting paid like hundreds and hundreds of thousands a year. And he had this whole career on like legal stuff, and he was like a lawyer and stuff, and he was a good looking guy. He was like an Aussie guy, and now he's just massive OnlyFans.
Wow. Yeah, you know, OnlyFans, the actual company, reached out to me and they're like, hey, Rob, you know, we'd love to help you set an account and pay me to go on OnlyFans. They're like, you can just post fitness content if you like. We've got other bodybuilders, young fitness people on this. And I was like, maybe I'll wait a while on that. I'm like, I'm doing all right now. I was like, thanks guys, you know, thanks for the contact. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it more like just like Patreon, really. And it probably will go like that, you know?
That's so funny. Just wait for Joe Delaney and Mike Thurston to go on it first, then you can go on.
Yeah. I know. I was like, come on, lads, you do it first. Come on, you do it, and then I'll sign up. Come on.
That's so funny, man. Actually, funny enough, I've reached out to the CEO of OnlyFans so many times. His name's like something, right? And I just can't get him on my show. I'll get him eventually one of these days.
Yeah, man, I would love to. I've never even heard an interview off him. Like, I would love to hear.
Do you know what he looks like? He looks like
he's like a young guy. He's like he's a good looking young lad from Essex or something, isn't it? Yeah. Some like from London. Yeah.
He's grown like
I say he logs in. I say he just logs into everyone's account and just like has a gawk. Like he's got the passwords to everyone's. You know, he's got the OnlyFans platinum subscription.
That's hilarious, man. You know, like when you're like at the early days of those platforms that just have these fucking exponential growth. I actually remember, man, when I first went to Instagram, the first fitness account I followed was Mike Thurston, and I remember at the time he didn't have like photos of his head. It was literally just like of like his like physique, and obviously
no way. I'm gonna slag him at that later.
But I'm saying it was so long ago that's like what the norm was, and he just took off. Like obviously he's like 2 million fucking followers or whatever now, but he was obviously built like a fucking brick shit house as well back then. But you know, he kind of caught that early growth, like yourself for whatever. So it's the next wave. Like if it is TikTok, like people talk a lot of shit about it. I don't even use it, but it's still the same premise though. You know what I mean? It's whether you want to accept it or not, you know, it's just coming back around. And to your last point, sorry, on LinkedIn. So yeah, LinkedIn's like a main platform I'd use, and it's fucking retarded. Like the algos, honest to God. Like it just picks up like short captions, kind of tweets, like longer kind of tweet format, but it will just like take off, and it will have like genuinely, man, like 25,000 views in like 2 days, 3 days.
No way.
If you have like a business you want to like leverage, or if you have like a product that you want to sell, or if you're doing like sales, like B2B sales, you just have this like crazy growth, and you can have a small account because again, it's like Facebook, the way like you like my stuff, everyone that follows you is now on that page. So it's completely different than Instagram. If you just think about it in terms of like Facebook, that's literally the way I think about it. So
I'm going to hire someone to do my LinkedIn in that case.
You should, man.
Rule number one of scaling is hire people that are better than you. You know, I need to hire a TikTok person as well, actually.
Use Fiverr for it. That's literally what I've used for pretty much everything. Fiverr, Upwork.
And Fiverr's powerful,
and just see where it goes from there, you know. Last area I want to chat about is around like mistakes and kind of like his pitfalls. And I know you've touched on a few of them before, but you know, really even from a business context. So you've launched a game plan, Fuel Cakes now, and I've seen great success. I've seen the front of it. And that's what I like to see as well. Obviously, it's great to see you're doing so well. But what has been like the biggest challenges for yourself? You know, because as you said, you know, you dropped out of college, you know, you play the dumb card, but you're obviously not fucking dumb. So, you know, how have you found like
dumb meathead playing in the biceps card? Yeah. So no, that's a great question. And I would say so every single thing that I've done, I've failed at first. Okay. And I would say don't get discouraged initially. Everyone in today's age, they expect like instant results, okay? And they can't handle a punch in the teeth, okay? So when you launch something or you begin something new, be it a new physical product or a new business or a service or an event or a podcast or a YouTube channel or anything, okay? Understand that it's not going to be a hit from the get-go. Like even if you look at like superstars like Justin Bieber or whatever, like he was, you know, playing guitar out on the streets, you know, in Canada when he first started. Like he didn't just go straight to like being like a pop icon, you know. You can look at anyone who's in a powerful place on top of their industry. virtually no one really starts just a superstar, okay, or they start successful. So I'd say is when you do something, is don't get emotional and don't get attached when it doesn't go perfectly right straight away, and take joy in going back to the drawing board and say, okay, look, a great thing is also humor, right? Is if something doesn't go right, say, hey, look, I fucking sucked at that, right? That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny how bad that went. But right, we're going to go back to the drawing board and make it better. And so that's the first thing I'd say, and understand that I've failed at literally everything first. Fail first and fail forward. Like even going to the gym, I didn't have a clue what I was doing on my first year, never mind my first day. So be willing to fail and fail first and fail forward. So that's the first thing I would say.
Yeah, and also like, you know, we're in the era whereby everyone expects you to fail anyway. Like I said, if you launch something, or if someone you knew from school launched something, it's like, oh well, it's going to be like over in like a month or whatever, you know. So it's about like probably like going back to the drawing board and that iterative approach. Like that's like the software 101 approach is like, it's going to be fucking shit. We need to roll it out, get some feedback, hear the correct feedback, and then make a lot of adjustments from there, you know?
Yeah. Like another example, Field Cake's the first samples came out, they did not the same mix that we're using now. The first game plan launch, like, there was a ton of glitches. You know, there's just everything. Like, there's never no one ever gets anything right in the first time. So, you know, be patient with yourself and laugh at yourself. Like, humor is so important, and kind of like enjoy it. It's like your life's like a movie, and, you know, the movie would suck and it would be over straight away if it's just like, hey, you know, here's the hero of the movie. Oh, he gets it right, movie's over. It's like the hero, he starts his journey, and then in the middle, he's going through a hard time. And then, you know, towards the end, there's a montage, and he's like, come on, you know, it's like Rocky, you know, and then he gets it, and then the movie's over, okay? So your life is like a movie, you know, and you star in it and you direct it. So make it a good movie.
Yeah, man, I completely agree. And it also patience, like there's no rush. People always say, like how long have you been doing this? Like 7-8 years now at this stage?
Oh yeah, seriously. So I put my first video up on September the 1st, 2014. I'll never forget that date. And I've loved every step of the way. And that's another thing, is you gotta enjoy the journey. Another one of my amazing analogies is that imagine you're climbing Mount Everest and you got a helicopter from the bottom to the top, and you stuck your flag on the top. You'd be like, all right, that's sick. Then imagine you climbed up all the way. It took you so long, and you stuck your flag in at the top, and you'd be like, whoa, that was fucking historical. You know? And so it's all about the journey. You still get the end result and it's still the same, but the difference is what happens in between.
And that's where you tie back in everything. You tie back in the interest, the passion for it, the balance inside of work, all like the risk and reward as well, because without giving that fucking bit of capital or whatever, none of this is going to come back to you. And the biggest investment usually is time, to be honest. Time, and willing to be patient, and willing to just try fucking smash things over a longer period. And that's where I'm currently at, man, is that like I'm down in like the pit, the fucking trading pit of podcasting, and looking for those small glimmers along the way. You know what I mean? And it's a combination of factors, and the road's long, but like I'm not going anywhere anyway.
I love it. I need to start a podcast myself. I've been meaning to start one since I'd say 2018. And like, you know, I'm here like trying to juggle so many different accounts. I'm like, I'm businesses. I'm like, do I really want to throw another podcast into the mix? But it's something I love doing. And I think long form conversation is just where it's at nowadays.
100%. Like genuinely, I will 100% give you a hand with that, man. Getting up off the ground.
Please, even I need even the equipment that you use, you know?
Yeah, literally. Like, so I'll tell you a funny story with this microphone before we finish up. So I bought this in like September, and it was only like 60 quid. Like, it's actually fucking perfect, right? And I got it, and I was like, I'm going to get a 90-day guarantee, because if this doesn't work out, at least I can return and get my money off Amazon. And I've stuck with it ever since. So just like, you know, even at that time, I was just get something fucking basic, get up and going. You get like hosted on all different directories. It's super fucking straightforward. I'm actually coming out with a podcast actually on it soon, but basically that's my commitment anyway, is that if you needed a hand getting off the ground, I'm always open to share my experience, because like you did so much for me with this shit, then like I'm happy to, you know, give back whatever I fucking can, you know.
You're a gent. I'm not as technologically where I'm at as I'd like to be. You know, for anyone listening to this, I literally like couldn't get the audio working at the start. But no, so I'll definitely hit you up about that.
Awesome, man. All right, we'll wrap it up here. I'll stop my recording, but I'd just say a massive thank you, Rob. This was awesome, super helpful. Really appreciate all your help, and you know, wish you all the best in the future.
Thanks so much for having me on.